So, yeah, so for those who are just learning about Everai today, um, I mean, for those who are invested, you know this, but for those who are just learning, Duo is the first hero in the ever expanding Everai universe. So recently, those who've held their duos through the NFT NYC event, they received one memory core and one origin archive. So, as an investor, we're all curious on the latest announcement regarding this and how it ties into the overall vision altogether.
Going for the leak, Steven, huh? Yeah, so no, I'm really happy to talk about this, and we're gonna host an official AMA later next week as well. But I really want to open the platform and really, open the doors, to the Origin program because to me, it's very exciting. So, let's unpack this a little bit deeper, right? So, how it ties into the overall vision, I'll start from the lore standpoint, right? So from the lore standpoint, the overall vision, these each moment, each archive, right? There's nine different ones, all tied to a key moment of Shodai history. So in a way, for the anime fans out there, think about it as like the flashback arc, right? These are all key moments in the lore, all key moments in our universe that affected to the situation that we're in today, right? So and that's why the catchphrase is really you must know the past in order to save the future, right? Because the civilization, essentially this through these events and in the lore, people will be able to understand, why the arcs took off, why the Shodai civilization fell, why we have to rebuild, why the Everai came to existence, right? It's gonna answer a lot of the questions, and in a way, what I say, it sets up the foundation, for the future and the path that we're on now, right? And for us as well, and from the Everai perspective, right? Like we could have just like released that, on a piece of paper, right? But it's so much more fun to explore that in a way and that's like a collectible. The way I look at it, it's like a collectible trading card game in a way, right? Kind of mixed with some gotcha game mechanics and essentially each chapter, right? So there's nine different archives and each chapter could be leveled up three times. And in that way too, you're kind of exploring and expanding the world, as you collect it and as you go. And there's a little alpha too. We're playing around with the idea of like whoever unlocks it first. If there's any World of Warcraft players out there, there'll be like a little world's first achievement. And also like from the development standpoint, we really wanted to experiment about, because we're all like deep cut gamers, and World of Warcraft is very dear to our hearts. But we're not going out there and making an MMO. But what we think is fun about the Origin program and about NFTs and Web3 blockchain is that you're able to apply some gamified mechanics, through ways that could also build the universe and tie it in through lore and combine it with art, right? And that's to us is like really the beauty of this, and that's how it also ties into the overall vision from a technical perspective, right? It's like it's much faster to ship gamified mechanics applied to blockchain and NFTs than it is to ship a game, So like for us as well, it's like moving us towards the path of where we want to go, and also from a lore perspective, it's setting up the foundation of our world, and also where we want to go on the arc. So in that way, it's really to sum it all up, it's setting up the foundation, for the whole Everai crew and the Everai universe to push forward, right? Because for us as well, right? And if you were, and we're gonna release a timeline next week, so that's a little more alpha as well. You're gonna see the timeline of these events and how they affected the past, right? So they all happened through the, a very long course of time, right? It's not like these events were like one after the other. It's like, one of the stories. Oh man, I'm going to go Leak City, I guess. But but like one of the stories ties into like the first ever I being created, right? One of the stories, ties into what we call the Nova Burst, right? Which is like when they essentially like, blew up, one of the whole planets to buy time for the rest of the civilization, to run, right? One of the stories ties into evacuation, right? And it ties into like the City of Wonders and the evacuation of this, massive city, right? And it just, yeah, I can't, I'm not going to give away all of them, but, there's like a few of them there. One of my favorite ones is called the Resurgence, right? Where it's one of the stories the show they were able to fight back, right? And so you're also gonna understand a little bit, something we haven't talked about before about like the villain of our universe, right? Like who are they fighting, right? Like, why are they running? And a lot of these questions will be answered through the Origin program and through these archives. Um, and essentially, as well, not only do we learn from the past, and this is where I give a huge shout out to the lore team, right? The program itself in the present day is the act of training as a pilot, right? If we were to, attribute this to something, that a lot of people know, it's like a tuning exam or your hunting exam license, right? Where, as an aspiring pilot, you have to go through this program in order to understand the past. And, through all of this too, it funnels into where we're going, as a community. So in a way, like, by understanding the past and by doing it actively through the present, it's not just like, here's an archive and here's a memory and here's a story of the past. It's like no, no, no. It's like as a pilot, all of us here as people in the community, we're actively learning through this. In a way, it's a test, right? And after all of this, after you collect it, after the origin program's done, um, man, I almost, I hope.
You're getting close.
It's getting close. The next phase will unlock. I'll just say that, right? And everything that we're doing in the present is really on this journey, right? Okay, I'll give a little leak without giving more, right? So the whole purpose of us in the present day of the arc is our goal is to find a new world and rebuild our civilization, right? And we are the generation of people on the arc that have not known our home world, right? We time skip a little bit since we have the great departure is what we call it, right? So essentially, all the aspiring pilots are this generation of people in the arc that have not seen a world outside, right? And you're going to be introduced soon to our main character, um, you know, who is a pilot in training, whose only goal is to leave the arc and expand the world out there, and really driven by the curiosity, see other worlds, to set foot on a new world, right? To explore the universe, right? And I think that attributes to a lot of us too, in the Web3 space. So, but in order to first do that, you must first understand, why we're on the arc in the first place and why the civilization is the way it is and why we have to go work so hard and essentially discover the world out there and rebuild. So I know there's a lot there, but I hope that helps answer some of the questions.